Hello, everybody. Welcome to the fundamental analysis. My name is Troy. We'll be starting here in just a moment, and I just want to do a quick systems check as we get going. So, if you would type OK in the chat box if you're hearing me clearly and seeing my screen all right. All right, great. I've got enough responses. Looks like we're up and running fine. If anyone has any issues, just let me know in the chat box as we go along. So the fundamental analysis webinar will be interesting this evening. There's a kind of a driving theme that's been going on in the news the past week or so and right in through today, kind of solidifying a storyline that I think you could maybe use to decide which way you prefer to trade on some instruments. And specifically, I think we'll look at some of the major indices and the cryptocurrencies, which I think could be driven in the same direction, kind of for the same reason. So we'll take a look and see what everybody thinks. As we get going, keep in mind that no one trade is guaranteed to profit. There's risk of losing funds with each and every trade that you take. With that said, there's also a good potential for profits with each and every trade that you take as well. So that's where you get into the idea of managing risk in a way that makes sense for you, whether that's using stop loss marks or hedge positions, or maybe you're using AvaProtect, which is a unique feature for managing risk for defined time periods. You can find that feature in our award-winning AvaTrade Go mobile app and also on our WebTrader platform. And both of those are able to trade on your MT4 and MT5 accounts. So what you open in one place shows in the other. Now, as we go over from an educational perspective, the information, keep in mind that it's not meant to be financial advisement. So in general, fundamental analysis is basically looking at the news. And so if we're looking at the headlines coming in, if we're looking at the economic calendar and seeing jobs numbers or GDP numbers, this is fundamental news. It's the information that you use to decide which way you think the wind is blowing, so to speak, in terms of the economic sentiment, or sometimes specifically for an exact instrument if we're talking about maybe some of the economic calendar announcements that are for a specific region around the world, and then specific currencies might be affected rather than a bigger picture type movement on the markets. Hello, Bruno. Welcome from Taiwan. The French dude in Taiwan, as you're referring to yourself. Nice to have you join us. We certainly have people from all around the world, so I know you're in different time zones. So sometimes I should say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening as we start each webinar. Okay, so in general, I don't want to spend too much time on slideshow. In what we're looking at here is that fundamental news comes in different ways. Regular economic announcements, which we'll look at, an economic schedule here in a moment. Extraordinary headlines, we'll look at some of the headlines, and we'll talk about different strategies for trading with that type of news. And so it's that simple. It always involves also technical analysis right along with your fundamental analysis, as you'll see. And so let me bring up a couple headlines, or a few headlines, that I think are driving the market now and as we move forward. So this is an important headline from Reuters. Moderna says its COVID-19 vaccine is found safe and effective in teens. Okay, so with the older population in many of the large economies around the world reaching maybe herd immunity with the level of vaccinations that have been done. I know there's some exceptions like India and some places maybe in South and Central America, some different areas around the world, maybe where there's more underserved populations as a whole that are having large outbreaks still. But in general, in the large economies, European Union, UK, US, China, Japan, etc., the vaccination programs have been very good, and we're finding that they're even being able to expand maybe soon to vaccinating even younger individuals, which is what this headline is talking about. And so this can only be positive for the markets. It's there's no negative way to spin that. Hey, the vaccine is also safe now for teens. So that just means more people could be immune to the effects. Maybe that helps schools open up, high schools open up, more people get back to work, etc. So that can create some positive momentum on the markets. That headline. And then another one: more than half of American adults vaccinated as COVID cases ebb. Ebb means they're not growing, right? Ebb and flow, just kind of going along without any big spikes, gradually getting more and more under control. In the US, as is the same, like we alluded to a moment ago, in many of the advanced economies around the world. And so more good news with that type of headline. Then we look at some other ideas. US new home sales drop in April, and March sales revised sharply lower. So we're looking at the home sales the past couple months then, March, April, and now we're in May. So the past couple months, not as good as was thought. And so you might say, well, that's negative, isn't it? Shouldn't that bring the markets down? And the answer is, what do you think is more likely to continue? Which has been causing the markets to go up through this whole COVID-19 pandemic. What's held the markets up has been stimulus, right? Low interest rates, stimulus, easy, free money. That's what's kept the markets at all-time highs through a global pandemic of all things. And so when you see a headline that says, okay, maybe there's not hyperinflation in the US, you know, new home sales actually dropped the past couple months in the US. So you say maybe the Feds will continue this easy monetary, low interest rate policy because there doesn't seem to be hyperinflation yet. There were fears of hyperinflation the past couple weeks, pulling some of the markets down. And so this headline, at first you say, well, that's bad news. New home sales dropped. It's maybe good news if you're wanting to buy on indices, right? Or buying on gold, because more stimulus weakens the USD, and Wall Street loves stimulus. And so this type of headline maybe reassures people that, hey, probably low interest rates and more stimulus will be coming, okay, or continuing, I should say. And then you see another example of mixed market. Okay, German GDP numbers, not only did they go down, they went down more than expected. So that's bad news again on the economic front, this time out of the European Union. And so again, if the central banks around the world are looking at these economic reports and headlines and saying, the economy's not quite roaring as much as we thought it was, then that makes Wall Street and the stock markets around the world believe, hey, low interest rates may continue a bit longer. So that makes the markets happy then. So this is where bad economic news actually can lead to optimism in the markets. Yeah, Bruno, you're talking about timber sales. There was, I think, a shortage of timber in the U.S. I think I read at least that they were having some shortages on timber. So part of that, I think, maybe was accountable to distribution lines, not necessarily increased demand. So you know, in the U.S., most all homes, at least in the northern part of the U.S., are wood framed. They're not concrete block. The entire home is wood frame, not just the trusses at the top. So, you know, when the housing industry is doing very good, there's more demand for lumber, obviously, and when it's backing off, there's less demand. Now, I would say maybe there's lag time in that as well. Timber, lumber, yeah, we're talking about wood either way. And so this type of demand, at least I thought that's what you're talking about, wood that would be used for building material. And so there was a huge increase in demand for new homes for a while there. So there could just be a backlog as well, even though home sales the past couple months have waned off. Okay. Waka's good question. Timber or lumber? I think we're talking about the same thing either way. So, all right. So we're seeing mixed numbers out of the European Union as well. Then GDP numbers down, business climate up, higher than expected. It's the same kind of all around the globe. You see good numbers, you see bad numbers. Here's some numbers that came in the green out of the U.S., and then some numbers come in. Consumer confidence has dropped off some. Okay, yeah, we're all on the same page then. We're talking about wood for housing. Perfect. So, all right. So in general, we're looking at mixed economic numbers. Some good, but not hyperinflation. That's the driving theme right now. Okay, that's the driving theme that we're seeing. Mixed numbers, some improvement, right? For sure, economies are opening back up, but the numbers are not hyperinflation roaring. And so we see folks like this guy, who is an important person whose opinion matters. The Fed's Evans says easy monetary policy has his full support, meaning he sees some of these numbers and says, I think we should keep low at 0 to almost 0 interest rates still. He thinks the bond buying program maybe should keep going on, where the feds are helping the banks out, and on, right? And so this is the theme, that the news is good, but not so good that we should stop all the support that the governments around the world are giving to their economies. And so the driving theme is, boy, Wall Street might like that, right? That the people who are kind of making decisions or being listened to are saying, hey, we think stimulus and low interest rates should continue. Here's another headline: analysis, floundering dollar falls to bottom of global currency heap. We've all seen it. The US dollar has been weakening and weakening like crazy. There's are periods where it spiked some and then it weakens some more. It's at quite a low right now. If you read through, it's weakened more the first quarter of this year than any other currency that you pair it against. Okay, any major currency, anyways. And so it's a weak US dollar. What does that do? Low interest rates, weak US dollar, that makes it a situation where inflation could tick in, right? A weak dollar, inflation could come. So you look at gold then, and you think about cryptocurrencies that are maybe a safe haven from a weakening dollar, like gold is. And so we've got some instruments then that we might have a preference in terms of what direction we might think we'd want to trade in the short term, or even the moderate to long term. And so we're looking at indices having reason maybe to want to go up. We're looking at gold having a reason to potentially want to go up if the US dollar is still looking weak, etc. Okay, and even crude oil. A weak US dollar and economic support tends to drive crude oil up. Okay, so we'll take a look at some of these instruments on the charts and see if you have any entry points you might like in terms of support and resistance levels, how much you'd have to risk, what your potential profit is to go after some moves, etc. And so that brings us to AvaTrade's main website. If you want to use AvaTrade Go, go to the trading platforms tab, go to AvaTrade Go, and you can get it in the Google Play App Store, the Apple App Store. It has the features I was talking about, Ava Protect. When you put your take profit and stop loss, it calculates your exposures, your potential profit, converts it to your account currency so that you're aware of everything before you buy or sell, your risk, your potential profit, etc. And if we log in here, we'll be in the WebTrader. And the WebTrader platform is new in the past year, developed by AvaTrade with the same advanced features and even more compared to the AvaTrade Go app. And so if you've been with AvaTrade, say, for longer than a year, couple years, few years, you might not have this active on your account because it wasn't available then. Just go to online chat or ask your account manager or support team to add this to your website login, this login, And then instead of going directly to the client area, you'll go here. And you can switch between your accounts here, switch to demo. If you have multiple live accounts, they'll all be listed here. MT4, MT5, doesn't matter. You can trade on all of them from this platform. Same with the AvaTrade Go. So it's a very useful platform, very convenient. Search tools are nice, favorites lists, all kinds of stuff. I'm not going to spend the whole webinar showing you features of our WebTrader platform, but I would check it out. It has a lot of nice features that you probably will like that the MT4 and MT5 platform doesn't offer. In terms of what we want to do right now, we're talking about fundamental analysis. So I'll quickly show you if you have a live account, and if you don't have a live account yet, at least open with the minimum balance so you can try out all of the premier features. And so Trading Central is available on all live accounts, and you'll see free signals in the analyst views. You have Forex featured ideas, economic calendar. What I want to show you right now, since we're doing a fundamental analysis webinar, is the market buzz. And someone's asking, talk about Elon Musk and Tesla and Bitcoin. Boy, some think that Elon Musk is kind of playing everybody with his tweets about the different cryptocurrencies, and you know, he buys into Bitcoin and then announces they're going to take Bitcoin for car purchases, and then later he says maybe they won't do that because Bitcoin's, you know, the mining of Bitcoin is not good for the environment, and who knows, maybe he sold all his Bitcoin right before he said that. You just don't know for sure. I'm certainly not making any accusations, but you have to be careful just following somebody's tweets and thinking what they do you should do, or the opposite. So my take on Elon Musk and Bitcoin is the same as it would be on Elon Musk and Dogecoin or anything else he tweets about. I think you better do your research a bit first before you buy or sell on something. And by the way, we're going to have Dogecoin on the WebTrader platform and AvaTrade Go soon. It's already available now on the MT4 and MT5 accounts. So if you're into Elon Musk and his cryptocurrencies, you could trade on Dogecoin and Bitcoin now. But if we take a look, you can see those instruments that are trending the most have the most stories. So we've got Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Amazon, Microsoft, etc. Okay, and here's Tesla. If you don't want to take the time to look for the articles about Elon Musk and Tesla, since you mentioned that, here it is. There's 244 publications talking about Tesla. Click on it, and it'll bring up the most recent first. This one came out 46 minutes ago. Okay, I see Ford is being talked about, Volkswagen, and something in here must be about Tesla as well. So if you click on the article, you can bring up the whole article. And there it is. Read through, see what they're talking about. Obviously, these companies are competition for Tesla, and there are new electric vehicles coming out that other companies are competing now with Tesla. So you can read through this article, and it obviously talks about Tesla along with these other companies. And so real quick, you can do your fundamental analysis on a particular instrument without having to search the whole internet for articles. They're right here, timestamped. 47 minutes ago, 59 minutes ago, etc. Okay, here's cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Why is that listed under Tesla? Exactly for the reason you mentioned. They must mention Elon Musk in the article because he's always tweeting about cryptocurrencies. So you can quickly find information, fundamental news about instruments you might be interested in trading on by using the feature found here. Trading Central, Market Buzz. Real quick, Analyst Views has free signals. Okay. Cryptocurrency signals showing the breakout move expected, price levels, etc. Also, you can go to Forex, different categories, breakout moves shown, price levels, etc. So it's all there for you for free. Elon Musk, sorry, yeah, I'm mispronouncing. I was pronouncing how the person spelled it. Elon Musk, thank you. Okay, so that's what happens when you're reading instead of thinking. All right, so we can go back to the trade area here. And there was a question I saw a moment ago, and I want to make sure I see it. How do you take some of the profit on a trade? Good question. So real quick, I'll show you how to do a partial close. So let's just do, I don't know, Euro USD, something that has very tight spread, because I'm just going to open and close. And so let's say I trade 0.1, and I'm going to go ahead and buy. And so once I have an open trade, then it shows in the positions. So let me go ahead and open my positions. Here's my trade. I can click to take a look at it. If I click close position, it brings up the window for closing before I confirm closing it. And now I can change the size that I want to close. So right now I have 0.1 open. So I could close any portion of that. So I could close 0.03, for example. If I close that portion, then 0.07 will still be open. And whatever percent of the overall trade this represents, it will pocket that percent of the P&L, profit or loss, when I close it. So I close that portion of the trade, and now you see I have 0.07 still open. Okay, so now if I go back, I see 0.07 lot size, because I closed just now 0.03. So that's how you do a partial close. Here, I'll just close the rest of it. Hey, I made about $1 on that move, and that was just randomly opening the trade. All right, so Tyra, you're asking when should you open or close the trade? Let's talk about that as we look at the charts, because you should have an idea of when you're going to open or close the trade before you open it. You should know both when you're going to open it and close it. Obviously, you have to know when to open it to get it open, but you should also probably have an idea of when you're going to close it when you open it. All right, so we're looking at a cryptocurrency here. This is XLM. And so why am I showing you cryptocurrencies? Well, we just talked about a theme that's been going on, and that is the US dollar strengthened a little bit the past week or two, and or let's say the past week. And we saw the cryptocurrencies really fall down over this past week. And so now we're looking at the one-day candles on this particular chart, and we see a support level, right? Support, 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 support. So your question, Tyra, when should you open or close a trade? Well, if you're confident that the fundamental news is on your side and you like the technical entry point, if you think it's opportunistic, then it makes sense to take a trade, right? And so why might I buy in this circumstance? So let's say I'm going to buy market move. Can anyone give me a reason why I might buy on this particular instrument now rather than sell? And it has to do with some of the things we just talked about. And maybe Elon Musk would agree. Egidio, no, you can't program the partial close in advance unless you have maybe an expert advisor. Okay, have an EA developed that you can program it to do those things. That's where automated trading can come in and be helpful. Okay, so I see some of you answering my question. Why might you buy on this rather than sell? And I'm not saying you have to agree with that, but what are some reasons fundamentally why you might do that? And technically, one would be we've seen articles about a weak US dollar. Okay, Matthew, you see the support level. So that's the technical analysis reason. We've got a support level here on the one-day candles that's held for some time. It's been tested, but held. Okay, tested, but held quite a bit. Okay, so technically speaking, I can say, okay, I'll put my stop loss below this support level here. Okay, I'll get below most of the wicks. So maybe I put my stop loss here, which is below this wick, this one, and some of these with one. That's not a wick, by the way. Let me get rid of this line. That's a line that was drawn with only one wick breaking that support level. Okay. Okay. So Megan, you're seeing a formation of candles that tell you technically you think it'll go up. Okay. And yes, we can talk about trailing stop in a moment. So technically speaking, several of you have given reasons why you think buying might make sense. There's a support level below the one-day candles, meaning the price has tested and bounced up multiple times from this price without breaking it for very long. Broke it by a hair here and went back up, right? Fundamentally, why might this instrument rise against the US dollar? We talked about the fact that there could be continued monetary support in the US, meaning more stimulus, low interest rates, etc. All types of things that cause the US dollar to be weak. We saw a headline, again, fundamental news. We saw a headline, that an article that we pulled up just a moment ago that said the US dollar's at the bottom of the heap. It's been the weakest of any currency the first quarter. So there are a lot of reasons why you might think that something like a cryptocurrency might look like a safe haven right now against the USD. Okay, so fundamentally, technically, maybe you're sold on the idea that it makes sense maybe to buy. And so my stop loss is a small distance compared to my potential profit. If I go to the high that it was at just a few weeks ago, a couple weeks ago, I could say, okay, I'll even take profit early here. If it gets to this resistance level, not even the top resistance levels, if it gets to this one, then maybe I take profit. And that gives me more than double the potential profit compared to my risk. Okay, more than double the potential profit compared to my risk. In the last webinar, by the way, if we look at the account history here, we did a few trades. And again, we looked at the technicals and the fundamentals, and we said, okay, let's risk less than what we could win. Maybe that's not the only way to trade, but that's the method we used in the last webinar. And you can see the recording on the YouTube channel if you want to see it. We lost 1,000 here, 995, 950. This was on some of the major indices. It actually was a cryptocurrency and an indice. And then we hit on one, 2,900. Right? We made 3,000, we lost 2,000. So and this is what we were talking about, is your win percentage can be even below 50%. And it might be because your take profit's further away than your stop loss. But you see here, 33% success, made $1,000 profit. And then these ones were smaller sample trades we were doing. Made $86, lost or made $21. But the bigger ones were these three. And so we're looking at the same type of setup here, maybe. We're looking at smaller risk compared to reward, support level on our side, putting our take profit below most of the bounce points here, and taking profit before it even has to break a major resistance level if it goes up, right? So technically, fundamentally, it all seems to come together and make sense. Yeah, Divesh, this is a strategy you could use to trade. Looking at the fundamental news, looking at the technical analysis, and putting together what makes sense to you to make your trade. And using the technical analysis to determine where your stop loss should be and where your take profit should be. Dominic, good question. The swap fees, otherwise known as overnight interest, are small per night. It's a small fraction of a fraction of a fraction of 1%, right? It's a small interest rate. But you do need to factor that in if you plan to hold trades for weeks and months at a time. Usually these news cycles, they're easier to trade on if you're getting in and out of the trade a bit quicker than that. The strategies I'm showing you, I would expect either this stop loss or take profit to be hit, I would say within a week or less. No guarantee, right? But I would factor in that probably I don't need to hold this type of move for months anyways. Probably not even for multiple weeks, and probably less than a week. And it's going to come to fruition one way or the other. Because we're looking at one-day candles, but we're also looking at an instrument that has made these moves within 1 week of time, maybe 2 weeks, right? Okay, very good question though. And you can find those interest rates on our website. I can show you real quick where they're at. Let's go there. Go to the main website. You go to trading info, financial instruments. Here's the general leverage and margin information. It'll show for your area. It's not the same in every region around the world. And if you want the interest information, just click on the instrument name and it expands the information. And you see the leverage, the overnight interest for buy and sell. Here you see overnight interest for Euro USD. If you're selling, we're paying you interest. You see that? 0.0031%. You make money overnight on interest if you're selling on Euro USD. Well, obviously, it's expected that probably the Euro USD might go up, right? Because the USD has been so weak. And if you're buying on the Euro USD, then you pay interest. There's a negative interest rate, 0.0064. Okay, so depending on what instrument, what direction you're trading, you might make interest or you might pay interest. But you see, it's a small fraction of 1%, very small fraction. Okay, 0.00 something. Megan, good question. Cryptocurrencies usually demand more than other instrument types when you're trading on it because the spreads are larger on cryptocurrencies compared to other instruments. So you need to wait out maybe the movements a bit longer distance-wise to get into profit. Although our spreads are very competitive, if not better than most brokers out there on the cryptocurrencies as well. And also because of the rapidity, how fast the markets move with cryptocurrencies, you might want a bit more than the minimum balance when you're trading, even the smallest trade sizes. You will notice though that we've allowed on some of the cryptocurrencies now 0.0001 lot size. I'm sorry, 0.001. Okay, not three zeros after the decimal point, but 2 zeros and then the number. So 1/10 of the minimum size that it used to be. So if you look at Bitcoin, etc., you'll see that it's the smallest lot size is no longer 0.01, but 0.001. Okay, which will help with the smaller balances for those of you that are trading with a bit smaller balance. Now, let's go back to the MT4 and we can take a look at some other instruments to work out maybe some strategy concepts. If we look at crude oil, we see why is oil up? It's up because the dollar's weak and there's optimism that there's going to be continued free money and easy money, as the one headline said, continued easy money for businesses and economies around the world. Low interest rates and stimulus and bond buying programs look like they may continue for a while still. And so up goes oil, right? On the 1-day candles, up. And so we're reaching a resistance level. I don't like to trade against the fundamental news. If you're a purely technical trader, you might sell off this resistance. But then I think you're trading against the fundamental news because the fundamental news is what's driving oil up. So if you go to the smaller candles, like 1 hour, you might say, okay, if oil pulls back down, maybe I buy. Like if oil pulls to this support level here or to this support level here, maybe you find a better price to buy from. If you believe oil should climb, which obviously it looks like that's what it's been doing. Purely technical trader though, not looking at the fundamentals, you're selling on oil right now like that. You're putting your stop loss above the resistance level here on the 1 hour candles, and you're putting your take profit at the first support level and saying, okay, technically speaking, I'll go after a pullback here. Fundamentally, you might wait for the pullback and then buy, unless the news changes in the meantime. Okay. If we're looking, but crude oil already being up already confirms for us that the US dollar is a bit weak and maybe cryptocurrencies could follow. Now, if we look at gold, okay, while I was speaking, we could have been making money on gold, right? We already said gold could go up with the cryptocurrencies as the view of the US dollar being at the bottom of the heap, as the headline said. As that is the opinion of the US dollar, people rush to gold. Okay. Gold is the number one safe haven against an inflationary US dollar, meaning low interest rates, stimulus, bond buying programs. If that's going to keep the US dollar weak, then it's a reason for gold to climb. Now, so here's the rush up on gold. If you're wanting to buy on gold, you might wait and see if it pulls back down to the support level here, because it already broke this support and went rushing past it. If gold pulls down to the support, maybe you have a pending buy limit. If you're bullish on gold, to buy from this support level down here if it pulls back, right? If we go to one-day candles, you might say, hey, we're reaching 1900. That's in many traders' minds, these even numbers, 1800, 1850, 1900, many times those are spots where technical traders will sell as something climbs to a number like that. So as we get near 1900, which we're almost there, we see that there is a resistance level in this area right about here. Okay, resistance down before it broke above to go up towards 1950 and higher. So there is a resistance level near 1900 here. If you're a purely technical trader, you might look at this as an opportunity to sell on gold. I might sell, put my stop loss above 1900, 1902 or something like that, put my take profit down at the first support level, and that's a scalp move on a pullback, going against the fundamental news, which I already said I don't like to do. But technically speaking, this trade makes some sense. That it could, before breaking a barrier like 1900, gold could pull back after this big breakthrough of the resistance and rapid climb. You could see maybe a pullback in gold could scalp a profit before maybe you get in the opposite direction to go with gold against what's perceived as a weakening USD fundamentally. All right. Let me take a look at some requests here. I see NZDUSD. There are some big announcements out of New Zealand tonight. So it's good you mentioned that, the NZDUSD. Let's go and take a look at the economic calendar. And if we look, this is New York time. We're looking at New York time here. So add your GMT offset from New York. 2200 New York time, add 5 hours for London time. Okay. And so this is 10 p.m. This would be like 3 in the morning London time. There's a interest rate decision coming, rate decision, press conference, etc. out of New Zealand. That's a big deal. Right now, their interest rate's at 0.25%. It's expected to stay at 0.25%. Okay, likely they could come out and talk the same way as the U.S. policy folks and say, listen, we're going to have continued support for the economy. We're going to keep the low interest rate. We're going to keep propping up the economy for now. They might come out and say that. And in that case, maybe you see the New Zealand dollar weaken temporarily. Or the opposite could happen, right? They could come out and say, hey, the economy is looking strong. We think we could raise the interest rate soon. And if you think they might come out and say something like that, you could take a shot at the New Zealand strengthening against the USD, especially since we already know the opinion is the USD is kind of at the bottom of the heap. So if you think the statement could be bullish tonight out of New Zealand, maybe you take your entry points if you like them on NZDUSD to go up, as you're suggesting, Mazen. So let's take a look then at NZDUSD and see what it looks like. And I think maybe this will be the last instrument we look at. Maybe we look at one more cryptocurrency if we have time, because I know a lot of folks are wanting to trade on them. I passed it up. I forgot what I was looking for. NZDUSD. If I can find it. Maybe it's in the top. No. You see where the WebTrader is better? You can just search at the top, NZDUSD, and boom, you've got it. It's not a pairing I'm on very often, so I don't have it pulled up near the top. Here, let's do this. There it is. I just quickly typed NZDU and I found it. Okay, there. That's a like a keyword search a little bit, but you have to be quick to type the letters in sequence fast enough. So we found NZDUSD. It was hiding below all of these stocks, unfortunately. And by the way, you can drag like this. I can drag it up, and I can take it to where I want it. Okay. All right. So we're looking at NZDUSD, and we're looking at. Let's go to 1 hour candles, and we see it's already bullish, right? And so that's part of the weakening of the US dollar, as we already know is occurring. So does this have room to climb if you're bullish on New Zealand right now? Sure it does. You've got a resistance level on the 4 hour candles up here. We're talking 72.48 and it's at 72.30. So another 18 pips up before it hits this resistance. So if you're bullish on it, you can take a shot. I don't love the entry point because look at all of the climbing. When we look like 5-minute candles, look how much it's climbed. You might wait to see if it pulls back down if you're bullish on this to maybe this old support level here. Support, support. It was below and then went above. So this should be support again. So if this pulls back down to this support level, maybe that looks enticing against a weak USD to see if you can find that entry point here. And then you just have a short stop loss below that support level, or maybe below this support level here. And you let it run through the night maybe, hoping that they talk bullish during that New Zealand press conference about their monetary decision. Okay, and yeah, I've got some requests for GBPJPY. We've got a little time. Let's look at it. Okay, so GBPJPY is kind of ranging today. We see resistance, we see support, and ranging movement. Up and down, up and down, up and down like a snake. If there's optimism on the markets about more stimulus coming, low interest rates, good vaccines, herd immunity, economies opening up, if it's mostly good news, is basically what we saw in the headlines, other than the housing issue out of the US with the housing, new house sales maybe not being as high as expected, you could say, boy, if it breaks this resistance, I buy, right? So a pending order at a price just above this resistance, like right about here, might be confirmation that, hey, there goes the uptrend. So this is where you buy from a higher point, maybe, if it breaks out of the ranging movement. And so a buy stop pending order up around 154 could make sense. Okay, so GBPJPY, fundamentally, it makes sense to think that maybe the pound could climb against the safe haven yen, because the yen tends to weaken when there's optimism about economies doing better. So if we do buy stop that buys from a higher point price, we can say 154. If it hits that price, you can be in. Stop loss could be right back down here at 153, maybe 97. 153, and maybe we say 90. Give it 10 pips potentially. Take profit could be up here at this resistance, 154.40. We can always slide those around once you got it set. Okay, so here's an example. Oh, what did I mess up? Buy stop, 154. Oh, maybe I'm too close to market price. Let me change it. at price, let's say 154.05. You can't be too close to market price or it won't let you open. Buy stop, buy from a higher point. Stop loss 153.90. Take profit 154.40. Let's try that. Let's try it again. Let me close the window. We'll get it done. By the way, on the WebTrader and AvaTrade Go, you don't have to tell it the type of pending order, but this is buy from a higher point. Buy stop, pending order. Yeah, AvaProtect is available only on gold, silver, and FX pairings. It's not available on the commodities or the indices as of yet. So at price, buy stop. Let's try this again. 154. Let's try 07. And stop loss 153.90. We can adjust it. Take profit 154. And we can say 40. Okay, and this would set you up in a nice place in order to wait for a breakthrough on the screen or on the price level, and then get in with a short stop loss and a much larger potential take profit. Okay, I had my fingers crossed that time because I wasn't sure what I was doing wrong. There, we've got it set. We've got our take profit down here. Once you've opened the pending order or prepared the pending order, you can slide the take profit around to a spot that looks better with the price level. So if this breaks through the resistance, hits my buy stop entry price, then I'm in on a buy, and my stop loss then is down here back below that broken level, which should act as support at that point. My take profit is up here before this resistance level up here. And now if I go to say 1 hour candles, you start to see that's a nice resistance level to take profit just before. And we're looking at if this triggers a potential profit of about 3 times what I'm risking. And so if I wanted, I could even slide my stop loss on the 1 hour candles below this support level. Support, support. It's less likely to hit my stop loss, and I still have a larger potential profit compared to my risk. And you can see how you can get perspective when you look at the larger candles as well, and maybe you slide those lines around on where you'd rather have your stop loss and your take profit as you look at the bigger picture on your technical analysis. And I kind of like to have a more major support level before my stop loss. So I think I like it down here below this support level better than the closer support level. So I'm willing to risk a bit more to have a more effective maybe stop loss. And now my potential profit's just slightly more than what I'm risking. Okay, so that's a nice setup. And so how do you do real quick before we end things? How do you do a pending order on the WebTrader so you don't have that issue I just had where you say, okay, did I pick the right one? Yeah, buy stop. Did I put it the right way? If you go to the WebTrader and do your pending order, okay, it's very simple. Doesn't matter which pending order I'm doing, what instrument. If I want to do execute when price hits, I just tell it the price. That's it. I can put take profit and stop loss as well. And I don't have to tell it buy stop, buy limit, sell stop, sell limit. It knows automatically. If I say buy at this price, if it's a higher price, it makes it a buy stop. If it's a lower price, it makes it a buy limit. So it makes it much easier and faster to enter your pending orders because you don't have to tell it what type of pending order. Why should you have to tell it? You're telling it the price you want to enter. It automatically, with the WebTrader and AvaTrade Go, will make it the right type of pending order for you. Okay, it speeds things up, and maybe it's good that I had to try it 3 times to make it work to get our New Zealand USD pending order to finally go in. Okay, everybody, thank you for joining. Any last questions before we end for the evening? Okay, great. Yeah, I do think you'll probably get some big movement on the New Zealand dollar tonight. We'll see what happens with my pending order. If they talk bullish, for sure, probably that pending order will trigger on the buy. Trailing stop, we'll talk about next time, okay? Come to the next one. We'll get on the trailing stop question, okay? All right, bye, everybody. Thank you for joining.